Hello and welcome to A Dominies Log, lesson 10 of 100 lessons that I'm going to try and find from A.S. Neill's first book, writing about his year, the first time he was a head teacher in a village school in Gretna Green in Scotland. So it's a winter time and we have A.S. Neill arriving at school, at a walking school. We have had a return of wintry weather, and the bairns, that means the children, had a glorious slide made on the road this morning. At dinner time I found them loafing around the door of the classroom. So the children made a glorious slide, and in the book we find that A.S. Neill, as the head teacher, in his jacket and trousers and shirt and tie, would join the children in terms of sliding on their ice slides, and so would the assistants, the two teaching assistants that he had in the school. So I've always thought that that's a really nice image of A.S. Neill as a head teacher, sort of joining in the games of the children just for fun, not to teach anything or to to role play or to form some sort of artificial relationship with the children. Anyway, so it's a wintry weather and the children are around the school door. "Why aren't you sliding?" I asked. They explained that the village policeman had salted the slide. After marking the registers, I took up the theme. It's interesting because I think he regularly discusses things with the children in the book, that one of his ways of teaching and engaging is to talk and chat to the children about different issues of the day, either through the newspaper or presumably like this, through events that have happened in the village. "Why did he, the policeman, salt the slide?" I asked the class. "Because the farmers do not want their horses to fall," said one of the children. Then I took them to laws and their makers. So he's using the opportunity to talk about how laws are made and how they're made and who makes them. "Children have no votes," I said. "Farmers have. Hence the law is with the farmers. Women have no votes, and the law gives them half the salary of a man." So here Neill means by farmers, he means the people who actually own the farms, not necessarily the fathers of his children, of the children that he teaches, because a lot of those are farm labourers and they wouldn't own any land, and they wouldn't even own the houses necessarily that they live in on the farms. So he's talking about farmers, men who own the land, having a right to vote. But he's linking it to the policeman to acting against the children for the farmer, simply because the farmers have the vote, they have the power to actually change things and to vote for those who make the laws. "But," said and he also, I love it that he's linking it to suffrage. He's linking it to women's suffrage, to the fact that half the population don't have a vote and therefore they're treated badly. And the example he gives is the fact that they have much lower salaries than men. "But," said Margaret Steele, who's one of the children, "would you have horses break their legs?" I smiled. "No," I said, "and I would not object to the policeman salting the slide if the law was thinking of animals' pain. The law and the farmers are thinking of property. Property in Britain comes before everything. I may steal the life and soul from a woman if I employ her at a penny an hour, and I may get a title like a knighthood or a lordship or a peerage for doing so. But if I steal Mr. Thompson's turnips, I merely get 10 days hard labour. So he's turned it now into discussion about what is the law there for, and the fact that it's in a sense to defend the wealth and the property of the rich, and it's not about defending the humanity and stopping the suffering of the poor. Very political discussion if you think about it. And then, how would he end this? Well, in the book, and I'm sure the discussion might have gone on, but in the book he says, Neill says, you bairns, you children, should draw up a declaration of rights. I added, and I think that a few understood my meaning. Now, I love this story. In fact, I love most of the stories that he tells in this wonderful book. But to me, this story is about a teacher engaging with the children, and he's talking about power. He's talking about and the lack of power if you don't have rights, and especially if you have the right to actually participate and contribute to decisions about law and order. And here he ends by suggesting that they create a charter of children's rights. This is 1914, remember. So it would have been the winter of 1914, just after the First World War started. And the thing I get really frustrated with in terms of teachers and also youth workers and participation workers is that when I go to conferences on citizenship, when I go to and I've been to a lot in Europe and also in London and various others. In fact, I went to the first Speaker Citizenship. Bernard Weatherall, when he was Speaker of the House of Commons, created a conference on citizenship for schools, and it was a consultative conference, and I was there. I think it was Nottingham, and there were 1,000 people there, I think, children, scouts, guides, and all the different organisations, and they were discussing citizenship in schools. And the problem with citizenship and youth participation and all this is that they are looking at methods, they are looking at how to engage children, how to engage them in voluntary work, how to engage them in positive contribution to the communities, and using those kind of things to help them learn about finance, to help to learn about democracy and things like that. And these are, in a sense, a lot of people involved in these conferences see everything like as a tool, as a method and a tool. And here we have a teacher, Dominic, who doesn't use the opportunity of the ice slide, which is about play in the street. There's a charity and all kinds of lobby groups about play in the street in London and the right to play. But Neill doesn't go into that. About how can the children create alternative spaces to play? How could they he just tells them they don't have a voice. He tells them, discusses with them about their lack of ability to say to the policeman, we don't want you to salt our slide. Yeah. Now, to me, that is, Neill represents what we should be doing in this discussion about education and young people being active citizens. And that is that it's not about tools for learning and teaching and engagement. It's actually political. It's about the politics of childhood. Who has the power? Who makes the decisions? Why can't children, why aren't children a part of this? Yeah. The UN Convention on the Rights of the Child has that I think Article 12 has that children can have the right to express their opinions and to take part in decisions that affect their lives, and yet very few people allow that to happen, and especially to make decisions where the people who are making the decisions, either like local councils or the government or the teachers or the head teacher or the school, that they in no way, even if their children are input into decisions, the people who have responsibility of making them don't allow accountability. They don't see accountability as part of them allowing the children to input in a consultation. Yeah. And the thing that to do with Neill and the slide is that he isn't talking about method. He isn't talking about engaging the children in play. He's talking about the children creating a declaration of rights. About the children fighting for the power to have rights, to make accountable that policeman to them. Yeah. And the laws to them, and the school that they're in to them. And that's what I feel the lesson that Neill tells us again and again and again. It's not about pedagogy. It's about creating communities of human rights, either schools or villages or towns. I mean, in Neill's case, it's schools. But, yeah, and you have to see that and then, once you've done this, and Robert Owen, the great cooperator who set up the school that is based on the happiness of children and play in New Lanark, he saw this as well. He saw that you need to have a space of rights, in a sense, before you start looking at pedagogy. Yeah. Once you have your school and your community set up with rights, then we can go on to ask, how can teaching and learning be best done? So don't listen to those people who argue that freedom in education is a good method, that democracy is a great method, that play is a great method, that participation is a great method. No, start listening to A.S. Neill and think about, let's start with the rights and dignity of all human beings, and that has to be founded on the rights of the child. I'm going to just end with one quick story about me. Just as the millennium was coming up, I was campaigning with the External Affairs Committee of Summerhill School, which I had set up, and that I'd facilitate a elected committee of students who then go around conferences and events and things, and I would facilitate them and support them going to these events. And one of them was the ex-Prime Minister of Ireland, Mary, I can't remember her full name now, but she was doing a lecture in the Royal Festival Hall with like up to 3,000 people, and it was being broadcast on BBC Radio, and it was called the Millennium Lecture because it was sort of summarising human rights. She was then the UN Commissioner on Human Rights, and her whole speech was about human rights. And I was there with 2 or 3 students from Summerhill, and I made sure that at the door for the guests, the event door, at the back of the building, I left a package for this politician, Mary Robinson is her name, Mary Robinson, with a copy of Dominies Log and a letter explaining about Summerhill and its relationship with rights. And then we were upstairs in the balcony of the Royal Festival Hall, so we were very far away from the stage. But it was a great speech, and it was started off with about Rwanda and the brutality of the genocide that had happened in Rwanda, and about the issues that it raised. And I thought, well, because I was there to lobby and to publicly lobby on behalf of Summerhill School and to promote Summerhill School in terms of its importance in the field of promoting and developing children's rights. And I thought, how do I ask a question in front of 3,000 people? If the chairperson takes my hand, how do I ask a question where the whole, the discussion on human rights, is as serious as genocide and using of machetes to massacre thousands and thousands of people. And all I'm doing is trying to save and promote a private school of 70, 80 children in Suffolk. Anyway, so I thought I'd ask a general question. And I put my hand up, in the audience, and I put it up, and I kept on putting it up, and I kept on waving, and then after 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 minutes, I put it down again, and I think it was one of the French students was with me, I think, and he said, why are you putting your hand down? Why are you putting your hand down? Put it back up, So I put it back up again, and the chair shouted at me. He said, look, the guy who's bald with the beard, I can see your hands. You don't have to keep waving it. I'll take your hand in a minute. And then he took my hand, and I said, I come from some Neill school, a school based on children's rights, and I want to ask Mary Robinson, how would she ensure that the schools in this country are based and founded on the rights of the child? And do you know what she answered? Her answer was, it has to come from the children, that the children will make their schools based on the rights of the child. And when she said this, I thought, well, maybe she's avoiding the issue. But I thought, no. That's what Neill would have said, in a way. In this story I told you about the ice slide, he's saying, why don't you create a declaration of the rights of the child? So to me, that's a really important story. And can I just say that when the whole thing was edited and put on to BBC Radio, my question, even though it was about 5th or 6th of all the questions that was asked of Mary Robinson, it was put as the first question when they broadcast it as a recorded broadcast on BBC Radio 3. So there was some good lobbying there. Right. Thank you very much indeed.